Adams. We're going to begin today with the UK regime's attack on the welfare system. Now, the Labour government has announced major cuts to the welfare system in the UK, and today they're publishing a green paper called Pathways to Work. The main focus of this announcement was on the disabled and long-term sick and getting them back into work. This is what they were trying to claim. It's all about getting them back into work. So they've announced they're going to spend £1 billion. That's £1 billion to do that. This is, they say, going to end years of inaction, government inaction, which has led to 1 in 8 young people not currently in work, education or training, and 2.8 million people economically inactive due to long-term sickness. And they say that this is one of the highest rates in the G7. Now, I think the first thing to note is that no one in the mainstream media, at least in their coverage of this, was wanting to speak about why there are so many people on disability benefits, because the fact is that that they're roughly double the number of people. So if we just bring this graph on screen and have a look at how this situation has changed since 2014-15. But around 2019, there were something around 200,000 people claiming PIP, this is Personal Independence Plan, payment, and by 2023, 2024, that was up to around 400,000. So a doubling in the last few years. The DWP has reinforced this graph by admitting that since the pandemic, so-called the number of working age people receiving PIP has more than doubled from 15,300 to 35,100 a month, and that the number of people aged 16 to 24 receiving PIP per month has also risen from, in this case, 2,967 to 7,857 a month. And they're saying that over the next 5 years, if no action is taken, they say the number of working age people claiming PIP is expected to increase from 2 million in 2021 to 4.3 million, costing 34.1 billion annually. But the question is, what do they mean by take no action? Do they mean if they don't simply cut the support? Or do they mean that they're going to do something to actually repair the damage done by the government policy that we've seen over the last several years? And never mention the jabs. But my question is, what's this really about? One thing that it isn't about is filling job vacancies, because the number of unfilled jobs has been falling now for 2.5 years. The estimated number of vacancies was 812,000 in the UK, according to the latest statistics from the ONS. That was between October and December 2024. Now, 812,000 might seem like a big number, but it isn't really. And it represents a decrease of 24,000 from the previous quarter. That's 2.9% fall, and a 12.7% fall from the previous year, same period the previous year. So the direction of travel is not good if hundreds of thousands of new people are going to be forced into the market, because there are already 1.9 people per vacancy before this change. But I think that actually the disabled here are effectively the poster children for something else that's going on. Certainly, part of this is about punishing anyone for whom lockdown and jabs had a major detrimental effect on their lives, but it's also, as I say, cover about something else. So here's an exchange from the debate yesterday in the House of Commons. This is Tory MP Mark Pritchard asking Liz Kendall. He had this to say.
Youth unemployment stood at 642,000 as of the last quarter of 2024, a rise of 136,000 on 2023, and a youth unemployment rate of 14.8%. She mentions earlier in her statement, earn and learn. Does she agree with me that one way of perhaps attracting some people back into work is for her to have discussions with her colleague in the Ministry of Defence, the Defence Secretary? And would she agree with me that getting more young people into His Majesty's Armed Forces, Air Force, Navy, Army, would be a starting place?
I absolutely agree with the honourable gentleman. Indeed, before I was appointed to this position in opposition as a constituency MP, I have discussed with my local job centre and the Armed Forces recruitment precisely these issues, because of the really exciting careers and opportunities that are available. I think are really important for young people in my constituency and the one that he represents. And I will certainly be having more conversations with colleagues in the Ministry of Defence to make sure we put this plan into action.
So she's going to put this plan into action. What plan? What are the details? No one's talking about this plan. So maybe this is something everyone might like to write to their MP about and ask exactly what is the plan with the Ministry of Defence, which is going to be put in action. I think we know whether it's called conscription or national service, it is coming. And I think if we don't want our children and grandchildren involved, now is the time to take note and take action. Charles, any thoughts on that?
Thanks, Mike. Good afternoon, all. Yeah, well, I think my first thought is that the government have an amazing amount of control over the younger generation. First of all, like we see here, people who are claiming any sort of benefits are obviously financially dependent upon the government, so therefore can be pushed in any which way. But the other thing, looking at it the other way around, if we're to say this is a plan when quite clearly it isn't, but if we're talking about people who are willfully staying out of the workplace, either because they're unfit enough to enter it due to quite probable injuries from pharmaceutical products, or indeed the product of simply living a very unhealthy lifestyle from 2020, having been sort of interned. What sort of people are going to be fed into the armed forces? If they're not willingly coming forward, the bar would have to be lowered considerably in order that people got through whatever training is required. So the outcomes for anybody concerned would be absolutely terrible. But the euphemistic language previously described, of course, as economic inactivity, it is, there is an absolutely enormous disaster here below the surface, which is just not being dealt with at all. So exactly what do the government mean when they say they're talking about dealing with it? Exactly, I don't know.
Yes, indeed. Okay, well, just to finish this off then, I'll just bring this tweet on screen. Robert here saying, I'm 76 and worked since I was 16. Explain to me how the UK state pension is a benefit, because this is also part of these cuts. Where's the money I paid into it gone? You talk Ponzi scheme, I give you the UK government. I just want to say this is exactly the point that I've been trying to make for years now. State pension obligations for the UK state at the moment is £6.1 trillion. This is unpayable. So it is a Ponzi scheme, and there was only ever going to be a rolling back on the state pension scheme, whether that means increasing the pension age or reducing the pension. So we'll keep you posted on that as we